All right. Hello and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Flame, the chairman at the Moore Park Chamber of Commerce, and I'm excited to bring you another episode of the Chairman Chat or Chamber Chat. And we're introducing one of our special members here today. This is Shaffiq Rahim. He is the CEO and president of Lifetech Resources, a leading innovator in the beauty and personal care industry. With an engineering background from Boeing, he brings a sharp operational mindset to scaling product innovation and manufacturing excellence. His leadership is grounded in collaboration, bold experimentation, and a deep commitment to sustainability. Under his guidance, Lifetech is expanding its global footprint through strategic partnerships and the launch of new skincare brands. Passionate about giving back, Shaffiq also supports organizations that make a meaningful impact in local communities. Shaffiq, thanks for being on the show today, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm excited to kind of introduce you to our audience and to some of our other members. We had an awesome opportunity to come and visit your facility, and with the ribbon cutting and the it wasn't a grand opening because we were just really exposing you to the community as a new member as well. But for those that weren't there, tell us just a little bit more about your company and a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll jump into some questions.
Yeah, that sounds great. So Lifetech Resources, we've been in Moore Park since 2018, but the company was founded in 1991 in Chatsworth in a small 5,000 square foot facility. When we moved to Moore Park, we left 35,000 square feet in Chatsworth, moved into 150,000 square feet. And at the time, as you can imagine, everyone said, this building's way too big for us. We're never going to fill it up. Well, fast forward 7 years later, it is full. We still have capacity, but in terms of the warehouse space, the quality space, the production space, all of our lines are really fully built out. And one of the things I love about our facility is we have that dynamic flexibility for customer demands. We don't have one line that's only doing X, Y, or Z. If a customer comes to us and says, "Hey, can you run this type of packaging on your lines?" Yes, we can be scalable. We can move things around. We can definitely make it work. And one of the things that makes us unique, which I always talk to about people in the industry, is you have your conglomerates in the space. You have your KDC ones, your Voyants, the big conglomerates that work with the L'Oreals, the Estee Lauders of the world. If you're a premium beauty brand, you don't have the volumes to really get their attention. You would just be a cog in a wheel. And then you have a lot of small manufacturing shops that, again, if you're a growing beauty brand, you're going to outgrow that manufacturing capability pretty quickly. So we're in this sweet spot in terms of the quantities we can produce, and then the value-added services. A lot of the smaller competitors in our industry, they don't have chemists on staff that can formulate new product development. They don't have a robust quality system or quality team to make sure that your product is going to be the best that you expect it to be. We're not trying to produce for the private label Walmarts of the world. Again, our brands are brands that are selling at a premium. And there's a higher level of quality. I love one products I love to talk about is in the hair care space. We innovated one of the most innovative hair care oils on the market. It's a well-known brand, publicly traded, and that was something that was formulated by Lifetech 7 years ago, and it is their number one hero SKU in the market. That is the type of innovation that we bring to our customers. My background, I've always been in manufacturing. I started my career, like you mentioned, at Boeing. But for me, it was always about getting that technical degree, knowing I wanted to go more to the business side. I had a really good mentor in high school who talked me out of going straight to getting my undergrad degree in business and said, "I can tell you're technically sharp. Go get a technical degree so you have something as a baseline that will differentiate you in the market so that you're not just another business executive that doesn't understand operations." And I feel like that was the best advice I ever got, because I not only did I do a bachelor's in computer science, I also went for the master's in computer science. By the time I finished the bachelor's, I was so intrigued about where we're going from a technology standpoint that I wanted to study that a little bit further and even do a thesis on kind of that next generation technologies of where the industry was going at the time. And then that led me to my MBA in finance and accounting. I spent the last 20 years in various roles as a finance or operations executive across industries. I've been in food and beverage. I've been in aerospace and defense. I've been in architectural lighting, and now in the beauty space. One of our customers actually asked me on Friday. They said, what's one of the interesting things you learned as you came into this sector versus your other industries you've been in? And I told her, I said, one thing that was very interesting to me is how long it is to develop a product and how integrated we are with our customers, because you have to be. The customer can't take these products and move them overnight to a different competitor. It would be at least a 9-month process if they really didn't like us and wanted to move. We know this because we've had customers move stuff to us as well, and it takes that long. So you really have to trust your contract manufacturing partner to be someone that you trust and want to develop products with, because you are kind of intertwined, and it's not like you can move the business overnight.
Well, that's all, really fascinating information and stuff that I think a lot of people wouldn't know otherwise. So I'm glad that we're able to kind of share this information today. And thank you, Sean, for watching, and thank you for your comments. If anybody else is watching live and you have comments or questions, please let us know. Shaffiq, you moved from Chatsworth to Moorpark. Why Moorpark?
Biggest reason was we were able to buy a building at a reasonable price, and Moorpark is not that far from Chatsworth. So Richard, who is the founder of the company, he did a survey of the employees and said, look, if we move from Chatsworth to Moorpark, would you move with the company? And majority of the employees said yes. We don't mind that extra drive. Most of them live in the valley, so it's a matter of maybe a 10-minute commute versus a 25-minute commute. But they said, yeah, that's fine. We can make that drive. And so he felt like it was a good opportunity for the company to get into a building in a space that we can grow into. He used that as an opportunity to also bring on a CEO, and he retired into a chairman role. And that CEO really did help grow the business and bring on new clients that propelled the business to that next level. And now we're continuing to do that. So with the facility that we have, we're even with the growth, we're only at 30% capacity. And in Chatsworth, to continue to add space, like to get 150,000 square feet in Chatsworth, it's not cheap. I think Moorpark is still reasonable. It's still affordable. It's gone up in the last 4 years since COVID quite a bit. But when we moved to Moorpark 7 years ago, it really was about establishing our own roots outside of the valley where a lot of our competitors are.
Awesome. Hey, we already have a question, and I'm going to go ahead and put this up here again from Sean. Does your manufacturing facility take on private label of both small and large brands?
Yes, absolutely. We work with both small and large brands. Some of the best brands that we have today as customers, we didn't necessarily incubate them, but we started to work with them when they had lower volume sales. And as they've grown over the last 10, 12 years, we've been able to be their partner as part of that growth. So you definitely don't have to be a big brand. We tend to not be the right fit for a brand new startup unless the volumes are there. Like if they have a contract with Sephora or Ulta or one of these big retailers, they'll probably have the right volume. Our minimums are, we like to stay above 10,000 units of any product, but we can start at 5,000 if we know there is room to scale up, over the next year or so.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks for answering that. Thank you, Sean, for your question. I have a few questions that we're going to dive in a little bit deeper. You talked a little bit about, starting at Boeing, but your journey started at Boeing and led you to the beauty and personal care industry. What lessons from aerospace engineering have most shaped your approach as a CEO?
I think the biggest thing for me has always been that adherence to quality. As you can imagine, especially in aerospace and defense, when you are building something that's going into space, whether it's for an aircraft or a space shuttle program, quality is critical. You cannot compromise quality because human life is at risk. And so to me, that is what I have continued to take in my career is, focus on quality because that is imminent or it's very something you can differentiate yourself versus your competitors. And it shows that you really do care about the quality of the product that you're putting out there. I always tell people I'm never going to be the cheapest manufacturer out there, but we will give you a quality product. And that's kind of that same approach from aerospace of focus on quality and that will drive the value. And we've had some customers come to us and say, that's great, but we don't need such a robust quality system. We want it as basic as possible. I politely have to say, then we're probably not the right fit for you. Again, it's about making sure that you don't compromise, on those quality requirements.
Yeah, and sometimes that's hard to do in business, right? Is to
Yeah.
let someone know that you're not the right fit. But I really appreciate the fact that when you talk about quality, right? Every business, quality is what keeps people coming back. People, quality is what the retention. It builds your brand. It builds your uh what's the word I'm looking for, your reputation, right? And that lasts forever, so awesome, great answer. Number two, Lifetech Resources has launched market disrupting products. What does your innovation process look like from concept to shelf?
So from concept to shelf, I would say typically you're looking at about an 18 month timeline for development. It starts with, you probably are looking at anywhere from 3 to 6 months in actual development. Do we have the right ingredients in this product? Does it meet the efficacy that the customer is looking for? Is it the right fragrance even? Again, especially if it's a body polish or something. Some of our customers even have a proprietary fragrance house that says we're going to create a custom fragrance just for our products. So a lot of that development kind of is that 3 to 6 month window. And then once you get into that window, then you start looking at packaging, stability. Is this product going to separate over time? So you have to do stability in terms of, is the formula itself stable, and then even a compatibility study. In this glass jar or in this plastic tube, is it going to create any issues for micro organisms to grow? Is it going to separate the product? Is it going to keep the product the way I expect it to? So that takes another 3 to 6 months as well. And then really the last 6 months of that timeline is getting your packaging in development, sourcing it, getting it into production. So typically packaging will have a 4 month lead time. I'm talking about the component, whether it's a glass jar, whether it's a plastic tube, whatever that is. Typically that takes about 4 months. And then the last 2 months are production, because a lot of people think, oh, well, just mix it in the tank, fill it, and ship it to me. I wish it was that easy. We have to test every raw material for micro contamination. We have to then test the batch after it's been mixed in the tank. The bulk batch has to get tested. And each of these testings take about a week to 2 weeks, depending on the type of product. And then after it passes the batching process, then it goes into the filling process. And then you have to test the finished good. So that's 3 weeks of testing, a week of filling and batching. You're already at 4 weeks, and that's assuming we have capacity, right? So then if your line is full and you got to wait a couple weeks before you can start running it, that's typically why we tell people 6 to 8 weeks to get it off the line once we get everything else done.
And just to be clear, these are all products that you make for your clients and customers. Lifetech does not make a product that is out there in the stores for themselves, correct?
We do actually.
You
So
do. Okay.
75% of our business is contract manufacturing for other brands. 25% of it is our own brands that we take to market. And both of our house brands have been in the market for 17 years. They are brands that Richard Carreri, our founder, innovated himself. Again, as kind of the founder and innovator of the company. The premium product is called New Lash, which is a lash enhancing serum. And then there's Rapid Lash, which is more of your mass market. It's found at CVS, Walmart, but more mass market. So he created one product that was going to be premium and one product that was going to be more mass market. When he came out with New Lash, that was the first one. It was an innovator and a disruptor in the space because the only competitor was Latisse, which had to be applied by a dermatologist in a prescription environment. His was the first OTC, or not OTC, but the first retail application. And he actually got sued by Latisse, claiming that he infringed on their IP. It was a whole court case, but through the clinical studies during the court case, it actually proved not only did he not steal their IP, his product had a better efficacy than Latisse. So all of a sudden he had a marketing tool that said, why go pay for this prescription from your dermatologist when you can just go to your local CVS and buy it off the shelf? So it was actually that product was at Nordstrom. So it ended up being a good marketing tool for the company. And now we're working on 2 skincare brands that we're going to be launching. One is going to be more of a premium skincare line that's going to be in Sephora in 2026. And then we're working on a more masstige skincare line that'll be in like Targets and Ultas, and that will probably launch in 2027.
All right, very cool.
Yeah.
Um, you emphasize collaborative intelligence in your leadership. Can you share a time that principal transformed a challenge into a breakthrough?
Yeah. So there's definitely multiple times I could think of, how collaboration transformed a problem into a breakthrough. And, most recently, about a year ago, we had a potential contamination issue that we had to figure out how do we make sure that we minimize the exposure of the contamination? What do we need to do? What are the next steps? And rather than as CEO come in and say, this is what we're going to do and we're going to do it my way, I had the best minds in the room come together and say, okay, now that we know what happened, how do we resolve the issue? And how do we get production back on track? And we agreed as a team that the right decision to do, again, it's not the easy thing, it's the right thing to do, is to shut down the production line for a week, do a full deep cleaning and sanitization of all of our equipment, and then test everything, make sure everything was tested clean with a swab test. And then if we were comfortable, restart production. That meant we lost a week of production, but collaboratively as a team, we felt like that was the right thing to do, rather than trying to hope we cleaned the contamination and we got rid of it and it wasn't going to be a problem. We said let's take that drastic step of shutting down production, getting everything back on track, and that again goes back to the quality aspect we talked about earlier.
Hmm. Cool. Again, anybody out there watching, we've had a couple comments. My wife is super excited about some lines that you have coming out. This was dangerous. This was dangerous for me to do the interview with you live with her watching. But Sean's out there. I know Cody's out there watching. Guys, if you're out there and you have any questions, please drop those in the comments for us. And we'll just keep going through some more information. But the other thing for you guys is big is sustainability is a core focus for you. What's been the hardest part of aligning environmental responsibility with high performance manufacturing?
So this was actually something that was really interesting. I had a meeting with one of our customers on Friday, and sustainability is a part of their brand image and focus, and it's very important to them. So when we told them that we were installing solar panels and we were going to be net neutral, they were really happy to hear that because they want to align themselves with manufacturers that are also focused on sustainability. And the one thing that a lot of people don't realize, and we talk about from a packaging standpoint, a lot of people assume sustainable packaging means you have to pay more for it. There are a lot of cost-effective packaging solutions out there that are sustainable, that could be the same cost of what you're paying today or cheaper. And again, really is about thinking about the environment long term. In terms of what is the impact that our manufacturing operations is having on the environment. How can we reduce our carbon footprint, our packaging footprint, our wastewater consumption and discharge. It really is about, again, maximizing the resources you have as much as possible. And not everyone does that, unfortunately. A lot of people don't think about those things, but for me, it is something that I've always considered very important, which is why in November last year, we spun up a sustainability committee. We meet once a month. We go through our sustainability goals for the year. Are we on track? What do we need to change, if anything? But start to share the data of, okay, what's our benchmark? What is our target for this year? What is our long-term target? And do we need to make any adjustments? And to me, it's one thing to say it on paper, but to actually put it into action, for me, is very important.
Now, you mentioned the use of solar. What are go into a little bit more detail about what it means, the sustainability, the packaging, the products. Explain that just a little bit more.
Yeah, so definitely, when people look at packaging, they want to be more environmentally conscious. Is my packaging recyclable? And a lot of people, just assume, oh well, if I'm putting plastic in there, plastic is recyclable. But actually, it's not. There's certain types of plastics that are not recyclable. Typically, your hard plastics are not recyclable, and there's some brands out there, for example, that will make a product where if you look at the core base, they'll have a jar that can be removed and replaced, and the inside jar that you're replacing is plastic. And they'll say, oh, look, we're sustainable and environmentally conscious because you're not having to buy the whole jar over and over again. But that plastic inner container that you're swapping out actually is not recyclable. And so again, it's sometimes people do it from a marketing standpoint, but glass is typically recyclable. So we try to steer our customers to glass as much as possible. There are, like I said, certain types of plastics, the softer plastics that are recyclable. And there's so much you can do now with plastic that can look like glass. One of our top customers, when I first saw their stuff running on the production line, I assumed it was a 30 ml glass jar, and then you go up and touch it, and it looks like glass, but when you tap it, you realize it's plastic. So there's definitely ways to get a nice premium look with while still focusing on sustainability. And then
Hmm.
from a power standpoint, it's about consumption. I think especially in Moore Park and in the California area, we don't have brownouts as much anymore because people have invested in solar in their houses and in their businesses. So we're not straining the grid as much as we used to. Especially in the summertime when people are running their AC. A lot of times, the community would have to make decisions on whether or not to cut power in the summertime. And I feel like as a community, we've helped with that by adding solar panels, so we're drawing less from the grid, and again reducing our footprint in terms of our electricity output, and strain on resources.
Hmm. You know, packaging. I'm always kind of interested in what the thoughts of companies are when it comes to packaging, because sometimes, you buy whatever the product is, and it's like this small, but it's in a box like this big, and it's you got to dig through all these things, and you're throwing away all this stuff, and I'm just like, first of all, from like a business standpoint, I'm like, doesn't that just cost more to like pack it like really big, and it looks good, but again, maybe not always the ideal situation for good recycling too.
Yeah, and so some brands do that because it's cheaper to buy one package size rather than different package sizes for different products in their product lineup. So if they have like a large spray jar, and then they might have like a small moisturizing jar, instead of two packaging, they might say, oh well, let's just, like I said, fill it up with stuff, and that way we just have to buy the one size of the package.
Hmm,
But I agree with you. It's unfortunately a waste of resources.
definitely. Looking ahead, how do you envision LifeTech Resources reshaping the future of beauty and wellness in the next 5 years?
So I think for us, it's really about innovation. We recently brought on a new director of R&D and innovation. She started a couple weeks ago. Comes with a lot of great experience in innovation, and she's been tracking the trends in terms of where skincare is going, where's hair care going, where's body care going. Those are the three kind of main categories that we're in. And it's all about innovation and clean formulation. A lot of people nowadays, they look at the ingredient list. They want to make sure that the ingredients are clean. They want to know what they're putting on their face. So what we're seeing, from our customers, and what we've done as well, is developed a big no-no list or blacklist of ingredients that cannot be used in formulations. A lot of times when a brand comes to us and says, we're going to send you our list of no-no ingredients, we say yes, happy to look at it, send it over. But internally, we've developed a list of about 800 ingredients on our own no list that we don't want to touch generally. So when we say send it over, we said, yeah, I bet you these are already on the list. We have an extensive list, and I think that goes a long way when they think that we've thought about clean formulations being a key innovator as part of going forward. You want something that's going to be it's going to meet the efficacy standards. It's going to work with the right application, but is the consumer going to be happy with the ingredients as well? That's kind of that balance you got to think about.
Well, I know that my wife is a lot more careful now than ever that what products she uses, and I the more we talk to people, people are looking at ingredients of products, food, everything in general,
Yeah.
to avoid any cancer causing ingredients, things like that. And so it's just great to hear that that's already on your mind and something that you guys are thinking about. Tell me a little bit more now about, what do you love about Moore Park? Being in the Moore Park community is so unique. Being a part of the Moore Park Chamber of Commerce, we're a small. You came from Chatsworth, came from the San Fernando Valley. The company did, and gosh, San Fernando Valley has, I don't know how many, what, over 1 million people maybe or something. But Moore Park, we're just a small little town, small town, big on business, though, right? That's our
Yeah.
tagline. But what are your thoughts now? Just kind of interacting and being in Moore Park.
I think the one thing I love about Moorpark is the community and the partnership across the community. It seems like a very tight knit community. I grew up in a small part of San Diego. Initially grew up in La Mesa and then moved up to the North County when it was still in its infancy. But I like the feel of that small town feel, but really ready to support the communal aspects, businesses, residents. It really is about making Moorpark a place where people want to be. And I like what has happened over, at least what I've seen in my year and a half working for Lifetech and being here in Moorpark. It is about how do we support our businesses? How do we support our residents? How do we make sure that Moorpark still maintains that small feel of a community? You never want to lose that. But how do we make sure that we attract people to Moorpark as well and make it a place they want to be? I was actually surprised at how many of our employees live here in Moorpark, or even when we've interviewed people from a competitor and said, "Oh, we're interviewing for this position." We get a lot of employees that said, "Oh, actually, I live in Moorpark, so this would be down the street for me," versus having to trek it into the valley. So, I feel like Moorpark's done a great job of attracting people to live here and be part of the community.
Well, we definitely have a great group at the city of Moorpark who recruits and brings the business in, but also it's retaining the businesses and
Yeah.
I always find that the businesses that are the most engaged and the most involved and the ones that give back are the ones that seem to do the best and last the longest. And that's really what our community is all about. Everybody wants to support the businesses that support the community. I mean, it definitely goes both ways. But we've got a lot of different things to be involved in here in our city, and I think that that's also the great part about being a small town is that there's lots of different ways to get involved to make a big impact. So yeah, thank you guys for choosing Moorpark, and thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being a member of the Chamber of Commerce. And as we get ready to wrap up for today, just again, want to remind everybody, please follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram. We do have a new YouTube channel that you want to follow, Moorpark Chamber of Commerce on YouTube. And we'll start streaming these interviews live on YouTube. We do need to get 50 subscribers in order to stream live on YouTube. So please, again, subscribe on YouTube. Here's a quick question too, before we go. Where do you post your job openings?
So typically we'll use LinkedIn for job openings, and then we'll use internally we'll post as well for referrals and kind of word of mouth. We actually started a employee referral program this year that gives employees a bonus if they refer somebody and that person is here for at least 90 days. Because typically someone refers someone they want to work with, they're not going to refer someone who's hopefully a bad candidate.
Right.
So we have found recently that referrals have worked well, but yeah, typically other than that, we use LinkedIn as our primary resource.
Great question. I know my daughter just graduated college, so maybe she's asking for my daughter. But yeah, great question. Yeah, Shaffiq, is there anything that we haven't talked about, about Lifetech or anything that you want to share with the community as we get ready to wrap up?
No, I think we did a good job of kind of covering Lifetech and my background, and I definitely appreciate the opportunity to speak here and appreciate you inviting me, Jason.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. And again, thank you for sharing all the information. If anybody has questions, where can they reach you? Where can they follow Lifetech? How can they get more information?
So that's actually one of those things that I'm glad you asked. So we just brought on a marketing coordinator at the beginning of the year, and he started taking over our LinkedIn page about a month ago. And it's so interesting to see, right, when you start to post actively about what your company is doing and what your company is involved in, both from the community standpoint and from a production standpoint, you start to get that engagement that we were missing, I think, as a key aspect. And so after LinkedIn, his next thing is on Instagram. We do have an Instagram handle, but he has to get that up and running. But yeah, LinkedIn is a good way to reach out to us. You can also always email me. My email address is srahim, SRAHIM @lifetechresources.com, or call our office 805-944-1199. And then obviously our website has all that information as well at lifetechresources.com.
There you go. That was what I was going to ask for. Website. Cool. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing all your information. Thank you for your support of Moorpark. And of course, thank you for being a member of the Moorpark Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
All right. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. I'll be back on next week on Monday with another guest. We'll be continuing the Chamber Chat series. And if you are a member of our Moorpark Chamber of Commerce and you'd like to get on this show, just contact Cody at the office, 805-529-0322, and we'll get you scheduled for, gosh, I think we're scheduled out through July and August. So hopefully we'll get you on soon. But guys, go out, make it a great week, and we'll see you real soon. Thanks again, Shaffiq.
All right, thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.